Okay, so I get it. You're getting really impatient now. You're probably wondering why we're spending so much time focusing on the issue rather than getting on with solving it. Well, I'm a student doctor and I have yet a lot of information to learn about the human body, all the intricacies of the human body and more before becoming the doctor that I will be one day. Similarly, Alan Carr doesn't want you launching into this process before you've got a good understanding on how it actually works. Only once you've recognized the nature of the trap that you've fallen into, this easy way method will provide you with the simple way to get free.
Just push the button, man.
Hey, what's up lads and lasses? It's your boy Cap Guy, glad to have you back. Alright, so you're very welcome in this third video of a series of videos that I'm making where we dive a little deeper into the chapters of this book. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go watch my first and second video in this series of videos before you watch this one. And before doing any of that, if you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to go watch my first video that I ever made about this book, which explains and goes a little deeper into my personal story and how I went from smoking 20 cigarettes a day to completely stopping and being free from this addiction and enjoying every single aspect of life in terms of physical health and much more. Alright guys, let's get down to it. Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, have a look at this image and tell me what you see. Let your imagination run wild for a little bit and see if you can make anything out of these shapes. It's just a weird red and blue shape, isn't it? Some kind of weird jellyfish looking like thing on a blue triangle with a red hat, right? You see, once I tell you to focus on the white background behind rather than the colored shapes, you'll begin to see a white sea. Can you see it? You see, your intellectual brain was trying to make sense of the blue and red shapes rather than the reverse, because experience has taught us that backgrounds are white and any information is color printed on that white background. Now, if you look at that logo again, try to unsee that big white sea. You can't, can you? You see, now your brain knows that it's there, so you can't fool it into believing that it's not. The same thing happens when you see smoking for what it really is, that moment of enlightenment. But you see, knowledge sometimes is not sufficient to beat the nicotine trap. You see, you need to understand the trap and believe the truth that smoking provides no genuine crutch or pleasure. You need to believe that smoking does absolutely nothing for you at all, that you will not feel deprived in any way, and that you won't miss it, and that you'll actually enjoy life much more without it. Easier said than done, huh? Well, not if you approach it the right way. You see, escape is easy if you know how. Okay, so last week we spoke about the fact that once you remove all the brainwashing and shatter the illusions and misconceptions about smoking, you'll find it easy to get free. This week, let's focus on chapter 3, the myth. And although this chapter encompasses a lot of concepts and ideas, I've tried to break it down to the essential parts of the chapter. But again, nothing is better than you picking up this book and reading it for yourselves. Okay, so let's start. Why did you start smoking? You see, at day one, you might say, because I enjoy it. I mean, let's be honest, that one, we all know that that's a lie. It tastes so bad and smells so bad that we feel nauseous, or even we cough that smoke out of our system as fast as we can. Okay, so why do you smoke? A couple of weeks later, your answer might be the same, because I enjoy it. This time, you're not lying. This time, you're probably telling the truth, because after a few weeks, your body has probably gotten used to that vile taste, that vile smell. Okay, so why do you smoke? You see, a few weeks later, your answer will probably be because it relaxes me. It gives me confidence and helps me to concentrate. Okay, so why do you smoke? Unfortunately, a few years later, your answer will be, it's just a habit that I got into. You see, nothing has changed about the cigarette, but your answers change with time. Could it be that your perspective is grossly distorted by the effects of the drug? You see, only once we realize that it's not a crutch anymore and it doesn't provide that pleasure we once thought it did, we wish we had never started in the first place. And so we try using willpower to stop smoking. In this instance, we feel deprived, we feel miserable, and we are unable to do so. That's when we're honest to ourselves and realize, oh no, I'm an addict. You see, our reasons for smoking may be changing, but the actual reason never does. Trying to end that empty, insecure feeling that the first cigarette created. Interestingly, Alan Carr goes further to say that the reality is that smokers enlarge a void that already exists. You see, Alan Carr rationalizes throughout chapter 3 of this book that from the day we're born, we crave comfort and security. That the shock of birth itself to the uncertainty of adolescence, we are prone to this empty and insecure feeling worsened by the pressures of modern life. And so we seek to fill this void. And because we are brainwashed by this myth that smoking offers some security, some satisfaction, some comfort, some relaxation, we smoke our first cigarette, which instead, as we've seen in previous videos, doesn't fill this void, but actually creates an even bigger void, giving birth to this illusion of pleasure and relief. And sure enough, once we truly believe that, the nicotine trap has claimed yet another victim. Okay, so we previously spoke about this coughing, this nauseating feeling that you have when you have that first cigarette, or even the first cigarettes. Alan Carr dives a little bit deeper and focuses on that specific feeling in chapter 3, and says if we had just listened to and followed our natural instinct, we would have never been hooked to smoking in the first place. However, Alan Carr talks about how our intellect leads us astray. Indeed, that our conscious intellect has developed in such a way as to question our instincts. And in instances where our intellect overrides our instincts with false information, illusions are created. You see, the human body is instilled with instinctive responses vital for our survival. Ironically, these natural responses such as fear, pain, and tiredness are often regarded as weaknesses. But without these, you'd blindly walk into harm's way, whatever the cause. Now, I know these concepts are really hard to understand, especially me speaking at this speed to you. So I invite you again to go and read chapter 3. Nothing is better than going to the actual source and reading it for yourself. So I really invite you to do that because it's actually really interesting what he talks about and the way that he talks about it. But let's try and summarize it in one sentence. You see that coughing, that nauseous feeling that you're getting is your body's way of saying poison, poison, do not inhale. You see, Alan Carr says, whereas less intelligent creatures would probably pay close attention to that warning, the human species has been brainwashed to completely ignore it, usually by smokers who are already hooked. You know, those that say, keep trying, it's an acquired taste. No, it's not. You see, Alan Carr says, if anything, it's an acquired loss of taste. Because if you continue to smoke, if you continue to take puffs of that cigarette, you start to develop a tolerance to the poison. Indeed, our bodies are so sophisticated, assuming that you're forced to be continuing to poison your body again and again, arranges for you to become absolutely oblivious to the foul smell and the foul taste. Okay, so again, you have contaminated your instinctive mind with misinformation that has become a part of the programming. So now, in order to free ourselves from ever wanting or needing a cigarette, you need to use your intellect to replace misinformed reactions with correctly informed ones. You see, to escape, all you have to do is reverse the process by which you were imprisoned in the first place. And because all these perceptions that enslave you are illusions, once you have removed them, you will already be free. And in order to start unraveling the delusions that are keeping you within this nicotine trap, Alan Carr invites you in chapter 3 of this book to completely step outside of yourself and to look at yourself the way a non-smoker sees you. You see, he explains his own story in chapter 3, which I invite you to read for yourself. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button just over there. If you didn't like the video but you still want to encourage me to make more videos, please hit that like button, that subscribe button, and share it to anybody that you think would benefit from this series of videos on Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Again, I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to check out my first video that I ever made about this book that dives a little deeper into my personal story and how I went from smoking 20 cigarettes a day for 8 years to smoking 0 cigarettes a day and enjoying every single aspect of life in terms of health and much more. Again, if you haven't already, check out my Instagram at capguy101 as well as my website capguy101.com. Thanks a lot guys, and God bless you. Ciao!
Just push the button, man.